One afternoon, Willem was strolling through town when he noticed a girl suddenly collapse in front of him. He quickly caught her before she hit the ground. A few people gathered around, but their cold stares made it clear they weren't friendly. Willem understood, it was because she didn't fit in with them. The girl introduced herself as Tholly and apologized for causing a scene. Willem reassured her it wasn't a problem and asked if she was new in the area. She said it was her first time visiting. Seeing the harsh glares from the crowd, Willem offered her his hood to shield her face and led her away from the uncomfortable situation. They found a quiet spot, and Willem decided to take her to a nearby store to buy a hat. He explained that it would help her avoid unwanted attention. Tholly thanked him, but he quickly shifted the conversation to warn her about the dangers of the city. He mentioned the poor food, high crime rates, and the risks for outsiders, even offering to take her to the port if she wanted to leave. Tholly was grateful but had one request. She wanted to visit a specific place before leaving. Willem agreed, even though neither of them knew exactly where it was. They wandered through the city, discovering some beautiful spots along the way. Tholly seemed to enjoy the journey, laughing and appreciating the little things. Finally, they reached her destination, a hill with an incredible view of the entire city. Tholly was deeply moved by the sight and thanked Willem for helping her. She said this moment made her feel at peace and ready to leave without any regrets. As they stood there, Willem noticed 3 armed men approaching, clearly searching for Tholly. She calmly walked toward them, taking one last look at the view. Willem felt uneasy but decided not to intervene, thinking it wasn't his business. Later, he met his friend Grick at a pub and asked about their friend Aina. Grick sadly informed him that Aina had died on a dangerous mission. Willem was shocked and apologized for bringing it up. Grick shrugged, saying that being a salvager meant accepting the risks. To lighten the mood, Grick mentioned a job offer. Willem was interested at first, but when he learned it was a military-related job, he lost interest. Grick insisted it was a good opportunity to make money. After some thought, Willem decided to take it and asked for the details. The job was simple. He was to oversee some special weapons stored in a military warehouse. Although it seemed odd, he agreed. That night, Willem arrived at the island where he would be working. As he approached the warehouse, a young girl suddenly attacked him with a stick. He dodged easily, but she lost her balance and he caught her just in time. Unfortunately, they both fell into muddy water. To his surprise, Tholly appeared and rushed over to him. Both of them were shocked to see each other again. Willem, covered in mud, was more concerned about getting cleaned up. He was taken to the warehouse, where he was allowed to shower. Once clean, he noticed the warehouse was surprisingly fancy, much more luxurious than he expected for a place storing weapons. When he stepped out, he was startled to find someone waiting for him, Niglitho. She greeted him with a big smile and pulled him into a hug. Willem wasn't pleased to see her, as he had hoped their paths would never cross again. Niglitho explained she worked there as a representative for the Merchants Guild and happily offered to give him a tour. She explained that the warehouse was managed by both the military and the guild. However, Willem couldn't relax around her, knowing she had an unusual appetite and wasn't shy about admitting that she found him delicious. Niglitho joked she wouldn't eat him outright, especially since he was the last of his kind. She even teased that if he ever wanted to give her a piece of himself, like a finger or an arm, she'd be happy to wait. Willem quickly ended the conversation, clearly uncomfortable. Trying to break the awkward tension, Willem asked Niglitho about his duties as a caretaker. She told him there wasn't much to do, especially since the previous caretakers hadn't shown up at all. She even offered to help him find another place to stay, but Willem refused. He was determined to do his job and, more importantly, didn't trust Niglitho to find him a proper place to stay. When she jokingly mentions wanting a taste of him, Willem directly asks if she plans to eat him. Niglitho laughs, assuring him she wouldn't do anything without his consent, though her choice of words only deepens his discomfort. Trying to focus on work, Willem brings up the special weapons he's supposed to oversee. So far, nothing he's seen looks like a weapon. Niglitho leads him to a nearby door, where she reveals 4 young girls who had been listening in. With a cheerful smile, she introduces them as the weapons he's been assigned to protect. The next morning, Willem meets the children living in the warehouse. He's baffled, wondering how anyone could consider these kids military assets. Something doesn't feel right, but he resolves to do his best as their caretaker. However, the children seem scared of him, avoiding him whenever they can. Noticing his frustration, Niglitho playfully licks his cheek, joking that his serious face makes him irresistible. Though disturbed, Willem gets an idea to connect with the children. He heads to the kitchen to prepare a meal. When the meal is ready, Willem offers it to Tholly, but she's too shy to try it. Nefren, another girl, takes a bite and is immediately impressed. Encouraged, Willem goes further, making a sweet dessert, pudding with his special sauce. The treat wins over the children, and they begin warming up to him. Later, as Willem watches them play outside, one of the girls, Alma, chases a ball and accidentally falls off a cliff. Willem panics and rushes to help her, but surprisingly, none of the other kids seem concerned. Alma, though injured, laughs it off and limps back to retrieve the ball. Her carefree attitude in the face of such danger unsettles Willem. After treating her wounds, Willem confronts Niglitho, demanding answers. Seeing his determination, she warns him that the truth will forever change how he sees the children. Willem insists, so Niglitho leads him to the basement, where he finds ancient relics, old swords and tools crafted by humans long ago. Niglitho explains that these are weapons made to fight the 17 beasts, creatures that destroyed the surface world. Humans who once wielded these weapons were wiped out, forcing other species to flee to floating islands. The weapons can only be used by humans, but the girls in the warehouse are leprechauns, a special race of fairies. Over time, they evolved to resemble humans and can now wield these ancient weapons. However, their training is harsh. They are raised to value their mission above their lives, taught to sacrifice themselves without hesitation. Niglitho admits that Tholly and another girl are currently on a mission, and Willem anxiously waits for their return. When the girls finally return, Tholly is unconscious. Willem immediately carries her back to the warehouse and stays by her side until she wakes up. Surprised to see him there, Tholly asks why he's taking care of her. Willem calmly replies that it's his job as their caretaker. But Tholly, with a sad smile, insists he shouldn't bother, because her time is running out. When Willem presses her for more details, she reluctantly explains. A beast is expected to attack Island 15 in 5 days. Unlike most of its kind, this creature can extend parts of itself high enough to reach the floating islands. Using current methods, the attack can be predicted, and Tholly has a plan to eliminate the threat. She intends to use her weapon at full power to destroy the creature, but doing so will cost her life. Though she dreads the sacrifice, she feels it's her duty to protect everyone. Struggling with her emotions, Tholly hesitates before making a request. Flustered, she asks for a kiss as her final wish, but quickly turns away in embarrassment. Willem gently rolls her over and fulfills her wish, placing a soft kiss on her forehead. Tholly, stunned into silence, almost asks for more but is interrupted when Willem unexpectedly examines her arm. He points out that her exhaustion is due to overusing venom, which has put a strain on her muscles. With a knowing smile, Willem begins massaging Tholly's arm, assuring her that it will help her recover. As she relaxes and falls asleep, he quietly heads to the records room, determined to find a solution to save her. The room is a chaotic mess, and sorting through the clutter feels like an impossible task. Nephron finds him working late into the night and silently joins in to help. Together, they spend hours sifting through documents, hoping to uncover something useful. The next morning, Tholly wakes up, replaying the previous night's events. Embarrassed by her confession and Willem's kiss, she tries to shake off her discomfort. As she steps outside, some of the children approach her with alarming news. Willem is sleeping with Nephron. Panicked, Tholly rushes to confirm, only to find Willem sitting calmly with Nephron asleep on his lap. He explains that Nephron had fallen asleep after helping him with research. Relieved but still annoyed, Tholly scolds him for wasting time trying to save her. Seeing her frustration, Willem suggests they spar. Tholly hesitates, warning him that only fairies can properly wield dug weapons, but Willem dismisses her concern. As the match begins, Tholly attacks with full force, hoping to end it quickly. However, Willem effortlessly counters every move, knocking her down repeatedly. Throughout the fight, he critiques her approach, explaining that dug weapons are precision tools, not meant for brute force. Her reckless use of them could harm not only her enemies but also herself. He urges her to learn proper technique, suggesting that she could survive and fight effectively instead of choosing a suicidal approach. Tholly stubbornly insists that her plan is the only way, but Willem's words seem to linger in her mind. As the match ends, Willem collapses from exhaustion. Unconscious, he dreams of his battle with Ebon Candle, a formidable opponent who had mocked him for relying on forbidden spells. Ebon Candle warned that these spells would eventually destroy him. Though Willem had won, the victory had come at a great cost. In his dream, he apologizes to his lost friends, Lilia, Swam, and Ilaria, for failing them. When Willem wakes up in the infirmary, Niglitho is at his side, looking worried. She tells him that his body is deteriorating, likely due to past battles. Willem brushes off her concern, attributing it to old wounds resurfacing. Meanwhile, the children try to sneak in to check on him, but Niglitho intercepts them. To satisfy their curiosity, she decides to share Willem's story. She reveals that years ago, she was part of an exploration team on the surface. They discovered Willem frozen in ice, the victim of a petrification curse. After freeing him, they brought him to the floating islands, where he awoke to a world that had moved on without him. Learning that humanity had been wiped out in a devastating war, Willem struggled to accept his new reality. As the last surviving human, he carried the weight of a tragic legacy. Surprisingly, the children are more fascinated than judgmental, eager to hear about his past. That evening, Willem works on Tholly's dug weapon to clear his mind. When Tholly finds him, she asks what he's doing. Willem explains how the weapon's talismans work together to create powerful effects. He emphasizes that understanding these tools is essential to wielding them properly. Impressed by his knowledge and dedication, Tholly agrees to train under him. Willem is relieved and proposes a deal. If she survives her mission, he will grant her any wish. Tholly's eyes light up, tempted to ask for something bold, but ultimately she settles on a simpler request, a homemade cake. Willem smiles and promises to bake her the best cake she's ever had if she returns safely.